We have only 35 chambers. There is no 36.
I know that. But I want to create a new chamber.
And what would that be?
I think Shaolin techniques should be available to all. So then, that's my idea for a new chamber. To teach the martial arts to the people. Anybody.
All right, welcome to this episode of My 3 Cents. And in this episode, I'm covering the coronavirus. I was right in the middle of a pretty elaborate series that I did put out the part 1 to, and I was planning on just dropping those back to back. I already have those prepared, but I started getting a lot of messages and phone calls about the coronavirus, as far as people wanting to know what my opinion was on it, if I saw anything deeper into it, and just basically if there were any types of insights that I was able to share, just, out of curiosity, or because they know I'm going to go at it from all angles, not just one angle, not just the news, not just political. I'm going to try to cover all angles. So that being said, this is the coronavirus episode, and so I'm going to go ahead and drop this knowledge on the coronavirus, and you guys feel free to send me messages, get at me, let me know what you think about it. If there's something else you want me to cover, if there's another perspective that I didn't cover, or something that you might have figured out, feel free to leave a voice message or contact me any other way you can on these networks. Right? Okay, so let's dive right into it. Corona. First thing I want to say about the coronavirus is the first thing that struck me as kind of odd was that it had the name Corona. So first of all, I got to say, well, what is Corona? What does that mean? Now, if you study etymology, or even with Corona, you can simply look it up first and figure out that it means crown, right? So the corona is going to be basically what you see when you look at the sun or when you look at the moon and you see that light ring around it. That is referred to as the corona, okay? It is the light crown that goes around these light energies, right? Like the sun and the moon. And also it is defined as the top portion of the body and also the top of the head, right? The crown of the head. So when we talk about coronavirus, we're talking about the crown virus. We're talking about the top of the body virus, the top portion of the body virus, which we know this is the upper respiratory virus. So we can already see a connection, because what they do is they build the energies on top of each other, right? And they're from the same type of source, but what they do is they stack the energies. This is how you make something more powerful and more potent when you go to put it onto the people, right? So if you've been paying attention to the reports, you've been hearing them use the word pandemic a lot, Pan-Demon-ium. They've been using the word panic, and you got to pay attention to what this stuff is, right? See, me studying etymology, I immediately start to hear where this stuff comes from, the origin of the word, and why we're even using those words over and over and over to program the mind to take in those words as the reaction to the situation. They want you to correlate those specific words with the situation. That's what you got to pay attention to. So words like pandemic, pandemonium, like I said, this actually comes from something that the Romans were into a long time ago, where they took the different gods or deities or energy forms that were personified from like ancient Egypt or Kemet, took them back to Greece, made them into their own types of deities, right? They deified them. So with this, you have the god Pan. Pan is the one that you see with the goat feet and the top part of the body, right? The upper body. The upper part of the body is human. The bottom part of the body is animal, right? So this is Pan, the Pan god. This is the god that deals in nature and also sexuality. So what I'm showing you is how some of these things are tied in. So by them using the word pandemic and pandemonium, you have to understand what they're saying to you and saying to your psyche, right? Pandemic. This is Pan-demic. This is Pan-demigod, the demigod Pan, right? This stuff is very easy to see etymologically if you do study etymology. It's very easy to see, and it's fun to see because it's like solving puzzles or some of us get excited about knowledge because we love when things unlock or when we have epiphanies, right? That's the sign of true knowledge. It starts to unlock other things, and it immediately rings true to your spirit, right? So you look at words like pandemic, which is the pandemic. You look at words like Pan-Demon-ium, Pan-Demon, right? You have to understand panic. This is all pre-planned and being executed very strategically on the people, right? Keep in mind that the president calls this the invisible enemy, okay? So we're already making references to the unseen when we refer to what's happening here. Viruses don't live in the unseen. Viruses are very visible under certain types of microscope. So let's already understand that this didn't have to be taken into the unseen to be referenced, right? But it is being referenced that way. So let's remember that as well. Let's go on. So the coronavirus. The coronavirus is an altered form of the flu like any other virus. I'm going to give you the history on it first. What a lot of people don't know and what they're not going to tell you is that the coronavirus is an animal disease. It is an animal disease that has crossed over into the human form of the disease. So they're not going to mention that. By now, with any type of bird flu, the swine flu, different things like that, you understand that these are named after animals because these diseases were actually coming from the animal and crossing over into the human and making some type of hybrid disease that people didn't really know how to deal with. Okay, and it's the same thing that's happening with the coronavirus. So they want to say it came from China. He likes to call it the Chinese virus, right? So we already got to understand when you're dealing with the Chinese people, you're dealing with a people that genetically are very close to those from Africa and ancient Kemet and Egypt. So the Chinese are like the brothers of the African. The land is one and the same. The only thing is the imaginary borders that we use to separate each other. Right? So besides that, these are very close relative to the ancient peoples of Kemet and Africa. So we're going to talk about why they're saying it originated in China, what set it off. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about what it actually is. So I've already said that it is a disease that came from animal that crossed over, and this is the human form that we're dealing with. And this is what is allowing them to say that they don't know much about it, because it is a new hybrid disease. It is not a new disease. It is not a new disease. I want you to keep that in mind. Now, when it comes to diseases that come from animal first, they are going to be most detrimental to the European, because the European, aka the Neanderthal bloodline, which most of them have the Neanderthal bloodline, they have the genes that match the Neanderthals, right? Which they try to say came from monkeys and whatnot. So this is their bloodline. They are very genetically close to the animals and have been consuming animals since their creation. So this is why I say diseases that come from animal are more detrimental to them, because genetically they are closer to the animal world than we are, the animal kingdom, right? So when you look up this disease, even on the CDC website, you can see that this disease, they will tell you, attacks people with type 2 diabetes, people with brain disorders, and people with blood issues over everything. They specifically say sickle cell. That is one thing they specifically name to say people with sickle cell. Now, who gets sickle cell? If you understand these things, you understand that sickle cell is also associated with people with melanin, right? People of African descent. So it is specifically attacking people with sickle cell in the blood, people with type 2 diabetes. Now this is if you understand diabetes, type 1 you're born with, type 2 there was some type of onset based upon how you consume whatever you eat as far as sugar and all that, not taking care of yourself or eating too much of what they gave you, and you came down with a disease that was also put into place to get people that have impulse control. And when they say that the flu is more detrimental to people that have type 2 diabetes and brain disorders, you have to ask yourself, why would something that has the flu type symptoms to it, why would it care if it was type 2 diabetes? What do glucose and glucosamine levels have to do with the virus, and how does that connect to your brain, right? So I'm gonna tell you some things you got to understand about these connections. I just want to make the connections for you. So first of all, we talk about sickle cell and it affecting people with sickle cell. Sickle cell anemia is a disease that they call a disease that is mostly found in people of melanin, right? Whether you know it or not, sickle cell was not always classified as a disease. At one point, it was just classified as an attribute, because the sickled cell was also a way to fight and kill other diseases and to ward off other things like AIDS and other types of cancers and things that could not live in the body and attach and work the cells the way they wanted to, because the cells were sickled. Okay, so this was also an attribute, and just because a few people have something don't mean that those people have a disease. Okay, just because a few people have something that a majority of people don't does not mean it is a disease or a disorder. I already told you about the D words and how they're just meant to divide, right? This is all the same knowledge. So it attacks people with type 2 diabetes and brain disorders. All right, type 2 diabetes. This is your glucose. This is your sugar levels. What do we know about sugar? What do we know about sugar and how it affects the brain? Sugar immediately affects the brain. The central nervous system will become less effective when on sugar. It will cause a dysfunction in the brain systems, right, with the sugar or the glucose. Sugar alters the systems of the brain and causes the central nervous system to be less effective. This is why if you give kids too much sugar, they will not be ready to learn. They will be ready to go out of control, jump around and run around, because their inner energy levels have been turned up. Sugar turns into energy in a way that you haven't even thought about yet. This is knowledge. This is what happens in the unseen. This is alchemy. This is something in a physical form going into the body, transmutating into an energetic form, and being able to be used for whatever the host wanted to use it for. So you got to understand there's always spiritual things happening, right? Digestion is very spiritual. Functions of the body, all these things are spiritual as they are physical. So when we see a disease or a virus come around, we got to understand what this is in the unseen and what's really happening with the body. And we can tell this by the physical things that the body goes through. So when you're talking about, you're talking about the sugar and the brain. So like I said, the sugar will shut down the central nervous system of the brain. And this will make kids actually seem less intelligent, the ones that consume a lot of sugar, because they can't retain, they can't learn like they need to, because their brain isn't firing off like it's supposed to, how it's supposed to. So let's say, therefore, people with diabetes type 2 also have a brain disorder. You see how that works? It is one and the same. If your sugar and glucose levels are off to that degree, then you also have a brain disorder, because there is no way that your central nervous system is working to full capacity if you have these issues in your blood that deal with the sugar or the glucose. They go hand in hand. So this is why when you look up on the CDC website, and you look up the coronavirus, it's going to tell you that it attacks those people more with type 2 diabetes, people with brain issues, people with blood issues. And then you start to see what type of people they're talking about. So this is something that has been a slightly genetically modified to come at certain types of people that have certain types of disorders. You already got to see this stuff. This is another form of the flu. People say, okay, well, you're not a doctor. You don't know that this is another form of the flu. Well, let me go on. So whether you know this or not, all right, I'm going to give you the history on the coronavirus. Coronavirus has actually been out since the early 1900s. Yes, the early 1900s. The coronavirus is the same as the bird flu, the swine flu, and other versions of the coronavirus. They are all animal diseases. This is what I'm trying to show you. What happens is, once it goes from an animal to a human, it becomes a different new type of disease. So these are diseases all mutated into human form. People who consume a lot of meat and animals regularly are most at risk for animal-borne diseases. Does that make sense? People that consume a lot of animal are more at risk for animal-borne diseases, right? So the disease cross over into the human. The meat has already crossed over into the human as the precursor for the disease. And then all we have to do now is trigger the virus. You see how that works? Food is often the precursor for diseases. You see? You got to ask the question, why are so many diseases and viruses animal-born? Why are so many viruses and diseases coming from the same things that we consume on a daily basis, that most people consume on a daily basis? So I wanted to give you a little bit of history on the word coronavirus first. I wanted to let you know that this disease has been around since the 1900s. This is just the latest version of it. That's what you got to understand. They keep saying that this is new, but really it's not. Technically it's not, but technically it is. So they can get away with saying that, but they already know about it at the same time. Right? So for everything that they're telling you to do, you got to understand, if they're telling you to wash your hands, this and that, right? Everything that they're telling you to do to actually avoid spreading it. If you don't know anything about it, then how do you know what we should be doing? How do you know washing hands is sufficient? How do you know anything if you don't know about it? So obviously they know all about it. You see what I'm saying? How are you recommending people stay home when they feel a little bit sick? How are all these people telling us that they have it, but they're at home and they're saying I don't have any symptoms, blase blue? See, you got to understand, you got to ask yourself these questions. It's not the type of virus or disease that you think it is. It is something that's been around for a very long time that they chose to highlight this time around. And by highlighting it, a lot of things are going to change when this is all said and done. So let's go on. I want to jump into the economy a little bit. I want to talk about the recession that they're talking about is happening. The depression that they're talking about is going to come. And the economic stimulus and the bailout packages that will also follow all this virus pandemic, right? So they say that we can't let these big industries fail because if we do, we have to bail them out, because if we don't, then when this is over, people won't have jobs to go to. So this is all about jobs, right? You can see right now with the gas price being low and with the prices of everything and the stock market all dropping, what this is showing you is a live drill of if everybody in the country stopped working and said, you know what, we're done, everything would actually drop and they would actually have to give us money. You see how that works? Because that would be the only way to preserve what they have put in play for themselves. That is what you are seeing right now. You are seeing through the matrix, at least a good portion of it, if you know what you're looking at. Right? So they want to keep the jobs available. They don't want the businesses to fail. What is the need for so much work from so many people? Has anybody ever thought about that? As a collective, this country works a lot. What are we all working for, and who are we all working for? Has anybody just asked that question? We're working to power the machine. They're talking about giving people checks, which is another stimulus to the economy, because by giving us checks, they expect us to turn around and go and spend those checks and put them right back into the economy. Now, first they were talking about a $1,000 check, and then they said that that's not going to be enough because a lot of the low-income people are going to save the $1,000 and they're not going to put it back in the economy. So we have to give them a bigger check. So if they did choose to save some, they would at least still spend some. So that's why people are going to get a larger check for this live event. Okay? It's going to look like they're doing something for you, but they're really doing something for themselves and their systems. Their systems will fail if they don't give us money by making us not work right now. So you got to be wary when the naked man gives you his shirt. Pay attention. Be wary when the naked man gives you his shirt. That's something my grandfather taught me. Now, what and who are we all collectively working for? Right? Billions of dollars were instantly released for this virus. So what deficit are we in? Remind me. He signed his name on some paperwork, and 30 plus, if not more, $billion. It might have been 300 billion. I'm not even sure. I know it had a 3 in it, and it was $1 billion. And it was more than 3 billion. Was instantly released for the virus and what he's calling a war on an invisible enemy, right? The invisible enemy. So you got to understand, by classifying this as a war, he can enact certain things into power. He can sign paperwork and and control us in certain ways and call this wartime. So by him using that type of dialogue, you got to understand what he's really saying. When he calls it a war, it's a war. This is wartime. That's why this is the invisible enemy. There has to be an enemy to be a war. So we released all this money, and we constantly talk about being in a deficit. These are all illusions, people, and this is what you're seeing. The Federal Reserve is a hoax. You know that's not the government. You know that's just something that prints the money and gives it to the government. It's something the Rockefellers and other families put in place a long time ago to assure that they will never run out of money, and the corporation that is the United States of America will forever be in debt to them, because that is who got them up and running, right? The United States got up and running by the Federal Reserve. So all this money thing, we got to understand this isn't real. They're about to do away with money because they've already said no money, no virus. This is why they're starting to tell you that the virus can stick on to many substances. What they're beating around the bush about telling you is that soon they're going to encourage us to not use cash money, because this is encouraging the spread of the virus. Pay attention. So they highlighted this virus this year, and it's going to end up going too far, because they're going to end up giving us a lot of more money than they planned on having to give us for this live drill. No special test is needed to know if someone has a sickness. There is no such thing as a special test. These special tests are just ways to collect your DNA. The test gets sent to the lab if you pay attention to what they're telling you. They're telling you these tests go to special labs, laboratories that have been set up to properly read and diagnose what the test, quote unquote, is saying, which is really just your DNA that they are putting on machines and looking into and trying to understand if you're sick, why, and if you are not sick, why. But either way it goes, they have collected your DNA. This is why they are telling you that they are working on a cure. When you have a virus like the common cold or something like that, there is no cure for that, right? Because this is just something that the cells are doing. This is a cycle of the cells that has to be worked through. There is no cure for the common cold. And so this is why so many diseases have flu-like symptoms. So this is just another virus that has flu-like symptoms. If you watch commercials on TV for actual medication, when they're telling you about the medication, they tell you this may cause flu-like symptoms. So there are many things that someone can have that will cause what they call flu-like symptoms, that will cause a person to go get tested, that will cause them to voluntarily give up their DNA, and also test positive as a false positive, and also test negative as a false negative, because all this stuff is fake and false anyway. This is why they don't want you taking the test if you're not showing actual signs of being very sick, because a lot of false positives will be popping up, because this is only a viral thing, and many people can have a viral thing but not have it to the same degree as someone else. The same cold might hit both of us. I might cough or maybe sniff a couple times and be done with it. My body put it to rest. You might get the full-on flu. It might elevate and transmutate into a whole nother thing. You see what I'm saying? So everybody's different when it comes to that. Everybody's different in that respect with these viruses. Certain people are more immune than other types of people. And yes, we're talking culturally as well. I'm trying to cover this kind of quick because I want to go ahead and knock this out. It's a lot of information. So they highlighted this virus this year. That's like highlighting the cold. Okay, we got 50 people in Georgia with a cold. Oh, we got 500 people in Georgia with a cold. We got 2,000 people in Colorado with a cold. If you highlight something and count the numbers, it's going to seem like an epidemic. If you highlight something that can be easily spread around, it's going to seem like an epidemic. They already said that this is the flu, but a lot more. It's a lot more contagious. It's easily spread. It's something that has been genetically modified. We already see that. The food was the precursor. So depending on how you already take care of yourself, that's what I'm telling you. If you have type 2 diabetes, you already went too far in the body. You already not taking care of yourself with the things you put in food-wise. The food was the precursor. So now, once you get hit with this, you are the excellent victim. You see how this works? So the test gets sent to the lab. The test is just a container. The lab identifies the virus. by the DNA that is collected. If anybody wanted to hurt you or wanted to kill off your bloodline, all they would have to do is collect your DNA and figure out how to affect it and what can infect it. Right? So this is what we're talking about when we're talking about these tests and whatnot. You got NBA and NFL and all these people that have been tested that are showing no symptoms. Wait a minute. You said don't take the test if you have no symptoms. So the guy comes on from the NBA, says, yeah, I have it, but I feel great. They got the hoodie on like always. I'm showing no symptoms. I feel fine. I'm self-isolating. I'm doing this. I'm playing the game. Come on, guys. They're playing the game. You got to understand what they're telling you. You got to understand what they're telling you. How you got it and got no symptoms? Think about that. So, I want to talk about self-isolation. For most people, self-isolation is electronic devices and themselves, right? This is you, information, and radiation. The perfect storm for cancer and any other sickness to fester within the body. Especially if you keep taking it in consciously and mentally, you're holding the devices, you're focused on the devices, it's a perfect breeding ground for dis-ease. Right? So, how do you find peace in the midst of everything like this right now, during self-isolation? My suggestion would be meditation. Actively centering yourself in the storm. Study the markets right now. Self-educate. Take this time to become educated on something instead of feeding into the same thing they're telling you every day. Educate yourself on upcoming opportunities in the markets. I'm getting calls about that as well as my opinion on what people should be doing with these checks. If you've ever wanted to own something or do something and you have other people in your circle that say they are about the same thing, well, if you're getting these checks for $2,000, $3,000, and $4,000 and it's income tax time as well, so there is no excuse that 4 or 5 people can't come together with $2,000, $3,000 and get whatever they want to get to jump a business or whatever off the ground. There is no excuse. So this should be a time where you are centering yourself, you're meditating, because remember, when you come out of meditation is when you come up with your best ideas. When you come out of meditation, your mind is receptive to the real energies of the planet and the universe that's guiding you and that's on your journey with you, as you at the same time, trying to communicate to you, right? This is like I say, everything at its core is a spiritual experience. Because you are a spirit over everything. So you got to understand, this is a buyer's market right now. With the stock market and everything dropping like this is the perfect climate to use some of your money to buy something, own something. Do not come out of this with a check and then you go and dump it right back into the market. Please don't do that. This is the time now to realize this is a buyer's market and you can use this time to realign yourself and see the opportunity ahead of you. Right? Get back close with your family. Spend that time you don't normally get to spend. See this as a positive. For some, isolation is a negative because for some, isolation is a trigger for addictive behavior. So when some people get bored, they get to doing the thing that they've been trying not to do, and they get to overdoing it. So this is another thing. This is an opportunity to work on that. When the tests come, it's not bad news because when you ace a test, you're very happy. And it was a higher percentage of your entire grade. So when the test comes, that's great. This is a time to bump ahead. This is a time to show that you've actually learned something. So this is what's going to be going on with yourself right now, doing that inner work, doing self-isolation. Okay, so see that as a positive. Spend more time with yourself, thinking, meditating, breathing. See what happens. Take this time. You said you didn't have time to meditate before. You say you didn't have time to work out. Well, now you do. Come out of this stronger than what you went into it with. For melanated people, drink water. Activate the pineal gland fully so that you can make sure that the melanin washes through the body and constantly fights off the germs and viruses. Melanin is your key. This ain't about you. So what is the purpose of moving on from self-isolation? What is the purpose of the check? Just to finalize that with the economy, the purpose of the check was to boost the economy when all this is said and done, right? To put money back into the economy so that the value of things don't have to fluctuate so much to keep the rich rich. So it was interesting that when I watched one of the reports yesterday, he used a term. One of the guys got up and said, when they were speaking for the president, they were talking about the money they're going to give to us, and they said, well, that money always comes back to us pretty fast anyway. So you already understand what they are planning and seeing for you and your money and what they see you doing with it. Right? They are also on the broadcast calling this a live exercise. They got right up there and said, this is a live exercise. So you got to understand what's going on, people. Flu kills a lot more people every year. This is just something that that's going to allow for a lot of things to be changed. Right? So let's talk about safety. Right now, a lot of guns and bullets are being purchased at one time. So you got economic scares. You got people scared that people are going to start looting and start robbing people. This is another thing to look out for. Be aware. Be prepared. This is another thing that they're planning to happen, because in an event like this, that is natural to happen. Some people are ignorant. Some people can't understand what's going on. So they're trying to take advantage in a whole nother way. So be safe. Keep in mind safety of the household in a time like this where some people get desperate because they believe everything. All right. So we were talking about false positive tests. Why you can't be tested if you have no symptoms. It's already been said to us that you can have the virus but not have symptoms. Now, what does that mean? That means there's going to be a lot of false positive tests. You can have it but have no symptoms, then how do you have it then? Right? If some people are dying and you have it and have no symptoms, what's really going on? See? So this thing is more detrimental to some people than it is to others. So you got to understand, these people don't have anything. They have something that can come up positive on a virus test, because who don't have virus? Most people have the same viruses. Most people have the virus that causes the flu all the time. But it is just not strong enough to have any precedence in the body to show or do anything. So most people always have these same viruses. We're all human. So we all are carrying the same types of things in us. We're all viral. Do you not know how many viruses and bacteria are in you, living, and that have to be in you for you to live? So there's going to be a lot of false positive tests if everybody is left to just take a test. And that's why some people are saying they're positive but have no symptoms. All right? They came on the broadcast yesterday and said 90% of people being tested are clear. But wait a minute. You said we couldn't get tested unless we had symptoms that were bad enough to get tested. So this tells you people that had symptoms bad enough to get tested took the test and showed that they did not have coronavirus but had something else that are showing the same flu-like symptoms. See? This is very close to everything else. It is just another strain of it. So the purpose of those laboratory tests are to prove that you have the specific strain. So it already tells you what this is about. They want to track that specific strain and the spreading of it. So it's been told that you can have it and not have symptoms. What does that mean? False positive test. This says, they also say that young people can have it, have no symptoms or any sickness, and can still pass it along to the elderly. You see, this is something that has been modified to be able to last longer on surfaces and last longer even in people where it cannot be strong enough to have an effect, but it's strong enough that that person can pass it to someone else having no effect. This is some genetic modification. Now, let's get into some numbers. The flu kills more people every year. You might not know this. United States, the flu kills tens of thousands of people every year. I'm talking 60,000 people. The flu spreads worldwide every year, but it is not called a pandemic or a pandemic. It is not called a pandemic. You see? This is more so far about the economy This is about elections. This is about exercising control over a group of people, over all the people if need be. This is about fear. No one in this country is free, or this corporation. No one in this corporation is free. When you can't work, the boss cuts you a check so that you can come back to work. This corporation is who we all work for. This is what we're all working for. Right? So with this coronavirus, we had 14,000 positive in the United States, and we had 200 that died out of 14,000 positive. 14,000 people positive for the coronavirus, 200 died, mostly old people. They're trying to show you examples of other age people dying and telling you it's the coronavirus, not any other version of the flu, because that would be more profitable right now to go ahead and tell you it's the coronavirus. Dogs are dying, and now they're trying to say that the dogs are dying from the coronavirus. We already know this is an animal-borne illness, so that makes more sense than a human dying from it. See? This is why the animals have it. When you look on the CDC website, it tells you that cats and other animals have been prone to have this for years and years. Now they're saying dogs. So things are jumping species as well. They're gaining access to different species genetics. See? If you didn't know that dogs have human DNA, then you just learned something. If you didn't know that most Caucasians and Neanderthal bloodline have dog DNA and animal DNA, then you just learned something. Study DNA. This is what I tell you. The melanated man has the largest strand of DNA. He has the most possibility to be every and anything else. When you get all the way down the different cultures, you're down to the European or the Caucasian, and he has the shortest, smallest DNA strand. He has the least opportunity to be or become anything different than whatever he is, which is a gene recessive form of a melanated person. It is what it is. This ain't racial. These are facts. So these are not our diseases. These are European diseases. You already got to know that when the disease came from animal into human, you got to pay attention to what culture it goes into first, because those are the genetics that it will first become familiar with when it goes into human form, right? So, with this whole thing in this country, with all this being out of work and giving us these checks, you start to understand that you don't work to feed your family. All of a sudden, work doesn't matter. All of a sudden, the price of gas and all this stuff doesn't matter. Did it ever matter? You see, we don't work to feed our family. Actually, nature does. We work to feed the machine. You see, the World Health Organization tells you that the flu kills 290,000 to 650,000 people worldwide per year. The flu. That's almost 1 million people per year. This is not what you think it is. So let's talk about the cure. Let's talk about the cure. So they're already telling us on these news reports that to most Americans there is little to no risk. So I'm conflicted. Why are we making this a national emergency if in the same breath you're telling me that to most Americans there is no risk? 90% of people tested are not sick. So that means that people that had symptoms enough to have to be tested, turns out that they are not sick. This makes no sense. But they have something similar, I guess, another form of the flu. Because everything gives you flu-like symptoms. That is a very broad word to use when we're talking about disease. Right? The symptoms are the same. So what I'm saying is the cure, especially melanated people, drink excessive amounts of water, eat raw. Eat things that are raw, vegetables, fruits, and excessive amounts of water. Sleep also heals and recharges the body. This is why when you go to sleep and wake up, you are not as tired as you was before you went to sleep. On a molecular level, you have went into self-regeneration mode, right? So remember, sleep heals and recharges the body. Frequency. I've shared with a few friends and a few people how to, and I do already have an episode prepared on frequency and vibration where I'll go into this deeper. But certain frequencies can also do things in the body, which we all know that, but we have to use these things. So I'll give you a few frequencies right now that you can look up, put your headphones on, and go ahead and listen to them, and you'll actually feel your cells reacting from these frequencies. It's kind of cool if you've never done this. So 741 hertz is more of an immunity frequency, and you could actually kill viruses within the cells or within the body by playing this frequency into your ears using headphones. It's a binaural frequency, and it will affect you on a cellular level. That was 741 hertz. 432 hertz will combine your heart space and your mind space, and this will give you wholeness. This will give you peace within. This will center you. 432 hertz will assist with that. It will also relax you. It will keep you from panic mode. Music at 432. You can also go to YouTube and stuff like that and type in some of your favorite artists' music, and then just type in 432 hertz after it, and it'll give you the 432 hertz mastered version for you to listen to that will give you a whole different vibe as you take in the music, instead of taking it in at the regular 440 hertz, which actually feeds things like cancer and other diseases in the bloodline. Now, I'll teach you that. I'll get into that when I do the frequency vibration episode, but I just wanted to drop a few frequencies on you right now that you can look into. So the last one is 528 hertz, which is the frequency of life, the frequency of the color green. It is the frequency of nature. It is the heart frequency of all other frequencies that have created the universe. 528 hertz. This is whole body, whole being regeneration, right? This is whole being regeneration using that frequency. So, that's most of what I wanted to cover as far as the coronavirus. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything that I wanted to mention. I wanted to talk about the economics of it, the purpose of the checks, how when everything stops, they end up having to pay us. So I hope you see the value of yourself in the machine. I hope you see that it's not about you feeding your family, it's about you feeding them and them allowing you to feed your family. So it's a lot going on that we should be seeing on higher and different levels at this time. This should really be insightful, what's happening in this country and in the world right now. Don't be fooled by the numbers. Look things up. Understand that this virus has been around for a very long time. It has just showed up again in a different form. Still animal to human form, but just a different animal, different form, right? Different source. Oh yeah, one thing I did want to touch on was 5G. If you haven't heard of 5G, this is one thing also being said to have triggered this whole virus in China. Because remember, China went live with 5G before us. Right after they went live with 5G, you had a lot of people having a lot of symptoms, actual flu-like symptoms, and then you had this. So, like I said, the food is often a precursor for many diseases and sicknesses. If you have the precursor in you, and the right frequencies or tones are being used all around you all the time, it is very easy to exacerbate something that has been lying dormant inside of your body. And so this is another thing that they're saying could be a possibility of why this blew up so quick and spread so wide so fast. The whole 5G network. So if you don't understand what 5G is, it's going to be extremely dangerous for the human. It's going to be everywhere. It's a frequency that is the same frequency as oxygen. It actually is mastermind the way that they're planning on using it. Internet will be everywhere. That's what's getting people to go for it, because they will have internet, strong internet down every street, every block in the country, and we will all be getting constantly hit with this type of energy. So if your body has things in it that haven't been acting up, well, this is when they're going to start acting up. This is when you start seeing diseases that you haven't seen yet, and this is when new sicknesses and viruses can spread in this way. So it is the 5G that has been also accused of being the trigger. So we got to pay attention to everything. Look this stuff up, get your information up, get your knowledge up, and pay attention. Drink a lot of water, you'll be fine. Wash your hands, you'll be fine. People that they're saying are positive are actually at home. They are not in the emergency room. They are not in hospitals. So what does this show you? This is something that passes. When I looked it up on the CDC website, it says it causes things like diarrhea, headaches, fever, and all kind of stuff like that. It is the same that a flu would cause you. So it can only kill you if you have a compromised immune system, just like any other flu, just like AIDS, cancer, anything like that. Then you are at risk for it to take over the body because it has been trained to. It is an acute disease. SARS. It is also SARS, which is it's an acute respiratory disease. So this is something that affects the breathing, somewhat like bronchitis, where you won't be able to take proper breaths. Somebody was telling me they thought they had a couple symptoms. I was telling them, do not breathe from the chest for one. Bypass the chest and breathe from the source, breathe from the gut. Make sure you're full body breathing. This will bypass that section and will cause the energy to go ahead and flow through the body. And this will give you a good cycle. So meditate, do your breathing, drink a lot of water, listen to frequencies, and don't believe the hype. Hey, take the check if they want to give us checks for staying home. We get it. We're going to use it for what we need. We're going to invest. Get with somebody you know that's serious about business and take this opportunity to invest, to pull your monies together. 5 people that each got $1,000 or $2,000 check and had $1,000 left. 5 people that have $1,000 that they can use right now to secure something for themselves becomes real powerful when they come together. 10 people and you have $10,000 and you can make that major purchase or purchases, get those LLCs, get those businesses started. And I'll be talking more about that, as well as taking advantage of these markets and learning how to really get out there and find what to invest in a time like this. Because this is the perfect opportunity. If you say they never gave you an opportunity to buy stocks and all of y'all got Cash App, you can easily look on the Bitcoins on your Cash App for one. You can start there. Bitcoins has been dropping. Bitcoins has been dropping for weeks, for months. And it's been dropping drastically for at least a good month and a half. So these are things you can look at and understand that when they get very low, go ahead and buy some when you think they've hit bottom. Because guess what? There's nowhere to go there but up from there. So when something hits the bottom and you purchase you a few shares or a few percentages, you got to understand that you're going to make money. It's as simple as 1, 2, 3. This is the same way that every wealthy man in this country is going to get his money back after this epidemic, right? He is going to invest his money. It's what they call buybacks. And this is one thing that Trump was very mad about. This is the last thing I'm going to share. This is one thing Trump was upset about, was called buybacks. It's when the government gives these companies money to bail them out of these situations, and they use the money to purchase their own stock that has dropped down to next to nothing. That is buyback, and Trump hates that because they're using government money to buy stock when it's very low. And then when they also use the government money to bail themselves out of the situation, the stock goes back up. Therefore, the stocks that they purchased at the low level now became considerably worth way more money. You see, so this is what he doesn't like to happen but can't stop from happening. But this is also something that you can legally do by jumping into the market and taking advantage, getting with somebody, a friend, 1 or 2 friends, get about $3,000 together and buy stock in Boeing. Some of these businesses that you know are going to get bailouts, you will be a genius to just go ahead and purchase some stocks. Watch these things go up. Everything's going to go up. Everything will go up. Remember, guys, what goes up must come down. But that's a pessimistic way of thinking. The rich man says what goes down must come up. So let's try to change how we're looking at some of this stuff, right? So I just wanted to give you a little bit of insight, a little spiritual insight. This goes all the way back to, different energies of the past combined with now. Everything of the past revisits, everything cycles. This is nothing different than things that have happened before. It's just happening again. And it's very important to understand that so that you don't freak out in your now and that you can just make sound decisions based upon what you should be doing, right? Keep yourself clean, handle your business, don't believe the hype, don't take any shots. Don't take any tests, because what I'm telling you is this: once they get your genetics, once they get enough DNA, they're gonna say they came out with the cure, or they're gonna say they came out with the vaccine. The vaccine is gonna bypass all the DNA that you sent that didn't get sick, right? That came back negative, because they want to know why you're negative and why this other DNA over here is positive. When they're able to find those differences, they'll be able to genetically make something that you can't get away from. So be very conscious of who you give your genetics to, who you donate your blood to real quick. Blood, remember, blood crystals, those are your ancestors. Who are you giving your ancestors to? You taking the blood from your body and letting somebody else put it in their body? Do we understand what we're really doing on a spiritual level? That we giving our ancestors to a whole other body, a whole other bloodline? You are mixing bloodlines? So when that person goes to have a baby, it's true enough that your genetics are in them as well, mixed with their blood. This is how you get a lot of hybrid stuff going on. But they're not going to tell you that. They're not going to tell you how important genetics are to fighting these so-called quote-unquote diseases that come out. They're not going to tell you that genetics play a major role in disease. This is why a family that always gets cancer keeps getting cancer, because genetics play a major role in disease or virus and ability to fight these things off or to live coincide with these things, right? And not allow them to take you over and kill you off. So this has just been my 3 cents on the coronavirus, and I just wanted to go ahead and get this out there just to give you a couple different angles to go at it on. And people were asking their opinion, so I wanted to put this out. Now, that being said, I am going to go ahead and drop the other more complicated episodes that I was going to finish up. I got 2 more to go, and they're going to really show you the secret connection of everything. It's going to continue from where I left off on the episode previous to this one. So I hope you got something from this, and I hope this answers some of the questions y'all were asking. And if you have more questions, leave me a message. Leave me an email at skotr36@gmail.com. And you can also log into these different networks and leave voice messages and different messages for me if you want to say something different to me. So reach out. Feel free to reach out through email or whatever it takes. So for all you repeat listeners, thanks for coming back. For you new listeners, welcome. And if you understand what I'm doing here and what's happening, share this with somebody. Because it's time for a lot of people to quote unquote wake up. I'm not here to activate you. I'm not here to wake you up. I could never activate your DNA. That is not what I'm here for. I could never activate your dormant DNA that scientists call junk DNA. They just don't understand that it becomes active at a certain point in a person's life. So these are other things that I'll touch on, but I'm not here to do that. I'm here to spark your mind so that you wake yourself up and so that you arrive where you're supposed to be. And that's why I don't advertise this site. I let the listeners pass it on, and it's been growing tremendously. I appreciate it. All you guys that pass it along, all you guys that are supporting, thank you, and I appreciate it. I very much so appreciate it. It does a lot, and it's going to allow me to keep doing this. While we're locked down, keep these things in mind that I said about isolation. Do your exercising. Get your endorphins pumping. Do your meditation. Come up with great ideas. Write this stuff down. Mastermind what you're going to do with these checks. Let's be smart about this. Let's not show that all we do is dump the money right back into the economy and that we can't be responsible fiscally for at least our kids, right? We don't have to believe in the future, right? We can only understand the now, but you can also look at your kids that are right now in the now with you. And if we understand that they will grow, then we must prepare for at least that, right? So, if you got something from this, man, pass it along. Trust me. And if anything else detrimental pops up about this coronavirus, I'll get back on here and spread it. But please don't believe the hype. Keep washing your hands and being clean. Some cultures are not that clean. So you got to understand, this was also a drill for them to learn how to keep themselves clean. I don't have to say who it is. We know that certain cultures are not clean by nature and are known to be smelly and have different hygiene things. So I'm not picking on anybody, but this is what it is. And you wonder why certain places, if you pay attention, Italy and different places that are really suffering from this disease, well, it's also been said that the hygiene levels are low and the hygiene standards are subpar in some of these places. So let's keep that in mind as well. So this is just common sense. This is a common sense drill. Use this time wisely. Use this time wisely. Use this time to reflect and to interflect. And get something from this. Don't look at this as something negative. So spend that time with your kids. I'm about to get off and go play some video games with my daughter. And I just wanted to drop this real quick. And look, I appreciate all the support once again. And I hope you constantly come back to see what I'm dropping, see what I'm talking about, and see what the people got me talking about. So this has been another episode. This has been the coronavirus episode of My 3 Cents. And until next time, my peoples, wholeness, wholeness, wholeness. Now go wash your hands. Wholeness.